I did a big action movie called The Incredible Hulk. You know what went wrong? I wanted a better script. I thought maybe we should try to make one Marvel movie that was at least as good as the worst Chris Nolan movie, but what the hell was I thinking?
I'm Greg, and this is IGN News. Golden Globe-winning actor Idris Elba has a pretty varied career. However, Elba has reportedly had a hard time transitioning from Nelson Mandela to Heimdall in the Thor films. The actor also called his experience on Thor 2 torture.
You know, I was doing Iron Man.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere, that gets taken away. We did a 3-picture deal with Marvel. He said, F you, and hung up the phone. Well, immediately they go to Don Cheadle.
Oh.
So he gets the part. I'm calling Robert, and he's doing Sherlock Holmes. I called him 27 times. And I'm like, I need the help I gave you. I didn't hear from him until 3 years later. I bumped into him at Brian Grazer's wedding.
There was a time in Hollywood when making superhero movies was the worst possible choice for an actor's career. There were times though when getting this type of role meant a banging career, recognition, and in the bank account. It's undeniable that Marvel Studios completely changed the movie industry in the 2010s, stealing the top positions in global box offices and even managing to irritate great filmmakers. But for the kids like me who grew up in this time watching their favorite heroes in the big screen, or even for the adult geeks who were witnessing an old dream finally coming true, it seemed that everything at Marvel was magical, when in fact it was the opposite. In this video, you will know about the obscure cases on your favorite Marvel movies, involving fights between actors, lawsuits, imprisonment, resignation, and some other things. I'm Gabe, and you are on Superhero Journal. Nobody at Marvel was tortured,
as far as we know.
but this phrase was said by Idris Elba, the actor who for many years played the role of Heimdall, the Norse god possessing golden teeth in a golden mane horse, who resides at the highest point of Asgard, where he fulfills his mission of guarding the Bifrost Bridge and also warn the arrival of the Ragnarok, and that in the MCU was portrayed as a doorman who works 24/7.
Hey boss, we want to go to the party. Let us go.
Shut up and go back to sleep, kid.
How dare you?
Idris is the first name on the list of Marvel actors who signed a contract to do multiple films for a good money, but ended up not liking the role at all and never missed a chance to complain about it. In November 2009, Idris was announced as Heimdall, being one of the last actors to join the cast of Thor. But right after the film's sequel, Idris began to show fatigue with the franchise. In 2012, he spent 8 months in South Africa portraying Nelson Mandela, but had to travel to London to do reshoots for Thor 2. In an interview with The Telegraph, he described this experience he had as torture.
It was really weird. In the actual scene, I'm actually falling down from a spaceship. So they had to put me in harness in this green screen studio. And in between takes, I was stuck there. Fake hair stuck onto my head with glue, this helmet, while they reset. And I'm thinking, 24 hours ago, I was Mandela. I was like, this is torture, man. I don't want to do this. My agent said, you have to do this. It's part of the deal. When I walked into the set, the extras called me Madiba. I was literally walking in this man's boots. I was him. I was Mandela, practically. Then there I was in this stupid harness, with this wig and this sword and these contact lenses. It ripped my heart out.
The second disappointing actor on the list is Anthony Hopkins, the All-Father. At 86 years old, he doesn't truly hate being Odin, but he found the work tedious, stating that acting in Marvel movies is the easiest thing in the world.
They put me in armor. They shoved a beard on me. Sit on the throne. Shout a bit. If you're sitting in front of a green screen, it's pointless acting it.
And in this hype of being extreme honesty, there was a funny case within the same film franchise involving the actor Christopher Eccleston. He said he didn't care much about his role of villain in Thor 2 because he only did the movie for the money.
I was not particularly drawn to comics,
I would get up at 2:15 a.m. and sit down in the makeup chair at 4 a.m. At about 10 a.m., I would leave the chair and it would be another 20 minutes getting me into costume. Then there would be 2 makeup artists and 2 special effects people around me all day. I was an ambulant special effect. I knew the emphasis would not particularly be on the dialogue. It is a visual party you are going to. I primarily do these films for the money. The straight answer is that I am an actor, and 90% of actors have regular periods of unemployment. I didn't work for 7 months after Thor. I am open to any kind of work so I can pay the mortgage.
Actors like Anthony Hopkins, Christopher, and Idris Elba understood that their roles were shallow and fulfilled their obligations with the payment in mind. But not everyone who worked at Marvel thinks that way. Some actors were genuinely excited about their roles and put a lot of effort into developing the character and their performance. But in the end, they were cut out in the editing and even embarrassed. Going back to the beginning of MCU, in March 2009, Mickey Rourke was hired to play the Russian villain Ivan Vanko in Iron Man 2. And because he is a very dedicated actor, he wanted to add more layers to his character, which the crew at Marvel thought really cool. So he traveled to Russia and spent months in a prison to absorb as much as possible, working on his accent and incorporating the posture of people in that environment. When he returned to filming, he was encouraged to improvise and act in a way that would add more weight to the character, since this method of directing and acting was used with Robert Downey Jr. in the first film.
I like to encourage a lot of improvisation on the set. You know, when you're working with Robert's very quick, unpredictable. I knew from Gary's work and from knowing him for so long that he was so quick and could hang in there, and I knew something explosive would happen.
No, let's not use that kind of language, if you don't mind. You ready? The American people, Mr. Stark? I want to say you to you. You're ready to
And Mickey was very satisfied with the work he did, so much that during interviews and on the day of the premiere, he was very calm and even happy. But in that same night, when he saw that half of his scenes had been cut out of the movie, Mickey felt he was betrayed.
If they want to make mindless comic book movies, then I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want to have to care so much and work so hard, and then fight them for intelligent reasoning. And just because they're calling the shots, I didn't work for 3 months on the accent and all the adjustments and go to Russia just so I could end up on the floor. Unfortunately, the people at Marvel just wanted a one-dimensional bad guy, so most of the performance ended up the floor.
It was in this film that Scarlett Johansson made her debut in the MCU as Natasha Romanoff, and 9 years later, she got her own solo movie called Black Widow, when something similar happened with the villain General Dreykov. Ray Winstone, a very experienced actor, was really excited about the idea of the film, but he was heartbroken when he found out that he had to return to set to refilm his scenes, because they thought his performance was too exaggerated.
It was fine until you have to do the reshoots. Then you find out that a few producers have come down, and your performance is too much, it's too strong. That's the way Marvel works. It can be soul-destroying because you feel like you're doing great work. I actually said, you ought to recast it because that was it for me. And you end up doing it again because you're contracted to do it. Otherwise, you end up in court. It's like being kicked in the balls.
It's pretty normal for a producer or director not to like an actor's performance, cause, the hierarchy in the creative process dictates that the actor should follow the director's vision for the film.
That's not fair.
However, Marvel is so innovative that sometimes the lead actor has more influence on the film than the director himself. Maybe you've seen the video where I discuss how the Blade movie can't seem to get off the ground. As the script has been rewritten more than 5 times, the actor Mahershala Ali hasn't approved any of them, and the directors simply give up on the project. But something similar happened at the beginning of the MCU. In the 2008 film The Incredible Hulk, the director Louis Leterrier wanted Mark Ruffalo to be the Hulk. But some studio producers preferred Edward Norton, believing that his fame and recognition would attract more audience and attention for the movie. Lewis expressed that he didn't like the choice because he was already aware of Norton's reputation of being overly controlling on the films he works. And he was right. To accept the role, Norton demanded that he could rewrite the script if he felt it was necessary, and Marvel agreed. As a result, by the half of the shooting, he had been rewriting scenes literally every day. People working on set even thought he was the director of the film because of how many orders he was giving.
Please, someone get this guy out of here. I can't take this anymore.
At the end, the final script had 135 minutes rewritten by Norton, which was almost half of the film, and it became an internal battle at Marvel to decide which version would make it to theaters. The atmosphere between Norton and the producers was so intense that they even threatened to cut him from the film's marketing and promotion if he didn't cooperate. The actor gave interviews, but didn't participate in the official tour of the movie. And the final version of The Incredible Hulk that the world saw was cut down to 1 hour and 52 minutes. 2 years later, Norton met with Joss Whedon, the director who was going to make the first Avengers movie, and it seems they got along very well. But even so, as you know, Marvel chose Mark Ruffalo, and when asked, the official statement was, the studio wanted someone who embodied the creativity and collaborative spirit of our other talent cast members. In other words, someone who wouldn't be difficult and would follow the script without giving any objection. Coincidentally, around the same time the Hulk movie was facing issues, the creative team of Iron Man was also divided on who should play Tony Stark's best friend, Rhodey. Some wanted Don Cheadle, while others wanted Terrence Howard, 2 actors that at the time were much more prominent than Robert Downey Jr. himself. The highest paycheck in the film went to Terrence, who earned $4.5 million and a pre-agreement for 2 more Marvel movies, while RDJ received only $5,000, despite being the lead. This was because at the time, he was a very risky bet by director Jon Favreau, who was a close friend of his. Kevin Feige and the rest of the studio still saw Downey unfavorably due to his personal history with drugs and prison. But Marvel's betrayal to Terrence came right after with Iron Man 2, when during the week his mother passed away, they offered him $1 million to keep in the role, which was less than half of what he earned for the first film, while Robert received $10 million. According to the pre-agreement from the first film though, Terrence was supposed to receive $8 million for the sequel. Rumors at the time said that neither the director nor the technical team were pleased with Terrence's performance and that they found it difficult to work with him on set. But sometime later, it was revealed that one of Marvel's top executives at the time, Isaac Permuter, wanted to cut the film's costs and had instructed them to replace Terrence if he didn't agree to a pay cut, stating that no one would notice the difference between him and another black actor. And for many years, Terrence was furious with Marvel, saying that the contracts they sign aren't worth the paper they're printing on. But it didn't stop there. The actor also harbored a deep resentment towards Robert Downey Jr. In an interview with Rolling Stone, he said that in the first film, he had agreed to cut his own pay so they could cast Downey, as he needed the role to revive his career after prison. But when it was time to return the favor, Robert simply ignored him.
I didn't know that it was not a mutually binding contract. It was only beneficial for them. And my agent had an emotional reaction and he said, F you, and hung up the phone. Well, immediately they go to Don Cheadle. But instead of just doing that, they had to spin, oh, he was terrible on set and all of these things. And I'm calling Robert Downey Jr. because Susan Downey was a producer with Joe Silver. She comes over to my trailer and she's like, wow, it's so amazing. Congratulations on Iron Man. It's the first time they've hired the second lead before they've hired the first. But Robert really wants to go in, but they won't see him. And I was like, I love Robert. I love what he does. I called Avi Arad immediately, and I'm like, Avi, instead of the $4.5 you want to give me, why don't you take $1 million for the bond for him and let him audition? So he gets the part. Robert is like, I love you, thank you so much, da-da-da-da-da-da. Well, when this other thing happened, I'm calling Robert, and he's doing Sherlock Holmes. I called him 27 times and then leave a message. I'm like, I need the help I gave you. I didn't hear from him until 3 years later. I bumped into him at Brian Grazier's wedding. That broke me a little bit, but I know how hard Robert had it coming out of that jail.
Although Terrence held a grudge against RDJ for quite some time, the two reconnected and made peace in 2016. On his Instagram, the actor posted a picture of them at a party, captioned, "Good to see an old friend again. Life is short. All good." Unfortunately, this wasn't the only time Marvel broke a contract with an actor. 11 years later, it was Scarlett Johansson's turn to be affected by financial issues. But unlike Terrence, Scarlett sued Marvel and ultimately emerged victorious. With the pandemic of 2020, many film productions faced challenges. And even after theaters reopened, box office numbers were not the same as before, when productions easily hit $1 billion. Marvel Studios chose to delay the release of Black Widow from May 1st, 2020 to July 2021. This was the first solo film for one of the Avengers who appeared early in the MCU, and Scarlett Johansson worked on the movie not only as the lead actress, but also as an executive producer. This changed the structure of the contract, as her role as a producer gave her more involvement in the financial and creative aspects of the film, meaning that part of her compensation was tied to the movie's box office performance. But this bonus clause was disregarded when, at the last minute, Marvel decided to release the film on the Disney Plus platform at the same time as in the theaters. As a result of this breach of contract, she filed a lawsuit claiming that the restreaming release reduced the potential box office earnings, directly affecting the compensation she expected by at least $50 million. In September 2021, Scarlett and Disney reached a settlement, which was not disclosed, but it ended up impacting the entire industry, as the other studios had used the same strategy of streaming releases at the same time as in theaters, leading other actors and directors to start questioning this issue. The purpose of this video is not to make you hate Marvel, but to remind you that despite the grandeur of the visual spectacle, the charisma of the actors we love, and the magic of following an entire connected saga, the world behind the cameras can be quite complicated. For many actors, the glamour of playing a hero actually translates into disappointment from broken contracts, monotonous roles, or conflicts with producers who just don't like them. Supporting actors are often subject to having the rug pulled out from under them, while the more famous ones have to deal with the pressure and the consequences of fame. It's no wonder many have openly spoken about struggles with mental health and substance abuse. Recently, the last big issue Marvel faced was having to redo all the plans for the multiverse saga, as the main villain was arrested and convicted in real life for assault and harassment against his ex-girlfriend. And now they've brought RDJ back to be the main villain of the Marvel Universe. What a plot twist. Write down below what you think about Marvel nowadays and what you expect from these upcoming films. If you've seen the video so far, despite my terrible English, give me a like, please. Please. Well, this is a small channel, but with your engagement, it can reach more people, and who knows, We might hit 1000 subscribers by the end of the year. Thank you so much for watching, and I see you in the next video. Or maybe not, but thank you. Thank you. Do you think I should keep recording in English or maybe use an AI voice? I don't know what to do, man.